On December 21, 2015, after the Dragon spacecraft was launched into orbit, the SpaceX company celebrated victory. The main achievement was the successful landing of the first stage of the Falcon 9 rocket. The launch vehicle and booster landed vertically on the ground, which allowed it to be used in new flights. At the time, it was a unique experience. However, time has passed and this technology has become something commonplace. But more recently, the Rocket Lab team has also become a trailblazer. They caught their rocket from space with a helicopter. What does this mean? And what should be expected from this event? For the first time, the idea of catching a rocket from space by helicopter was voiced by the Hiller Aircraft Company from California in 1965. The first stage, the rocket booster, was supposed to catch a giant helicopter. Only the diameter of the main rotor of the flying monster was supposed to be made longer than the length of the football field. According to expert calculations, the mega machine could even withstand the first stage of the heavy Saturn V rocket's S1C. It started out weighing nearly 4.5 million pounds. When fully loaded, the aircraft weighs only 470,000 pounds compared to the Boeing 747-800. As conceived by Hiller Aircraft, the helicopter was supposed to wait for the missile in the air not far from the launch site. When returning to Earth, they wanted to send the device to it and at an altitude of about 10,000 feet, hook it onto a parachute. Then, the rocket would be pulled up to the helicopter and taken to the launch pad or to another place on land. However, Hiller Aircraft did not find support in business circles, where everyone considered such an idea to be crazy. Also, the company did not have sufficient funds even for the detailed development of the project. Since then, many years have passed and such a plan was carried out. The idea was picked up by the Rocket Lab private space company. In 2006, it was organized by entrepreneur Peter Beck in New Zealand, later opening headquarters in California. The company delivers small satellites weighing less than 1,100 pounds, such as CubeSats, into orbit. They are sent into space using a lightweight two-stage Electron rocket. It is 59 feet high and can lift up to 661 pounds. Rocket Lab has already completed 26 missions, of which only 3 were unsuccessful. The flight costs $5 million, with the rocket delivering dozens of small satellites into orbit. However, Rocket Lab decided to take steps to reduce the cost of flights and increase their frequency. For this, a plan was developed for the reusable use of the first stage, which is up to 80% of the cost of the entire rocket. Rocket Lab's technology wasn't originally designed for autonomous booster landings like SpaceX's. Launch vehicles and launchers descended at great speed and sank into the ocean. The first stage of the Falcon 9 descends using jet engines either to a platform in the ocean or on land. Electron is much smaller in size, so it has to use all the fuel to lift the cargo into orbit. This rules out landing, similar to Falcon 9. To save the booster for reuse, Rocket Lab first developed a system for landing it directly into the ocean. The soft splashdown of the launch vehicle was supposed to be provided by parachutes. Then it was supposed to be removed from the water, repaired, and put into operation. The new technology was first used on November 19, 2020 during the Return to Sender mission. After the launch of the rocket to a predetermined altitude, the booster parachute descended into the ocean about 250 miles from the launch site. This method was used again on May 15, 2021. Admittedly, the first stage booster caught fire and communication with the rocket was lost. And the booster of the second stage managed to separate and flew to the Earth, successfully splashing down on parachutes into the ocean. However, by November 18th, the rocket again sent Electron into space and then its first stage separated and safely parachuted into the ocean. After studying a new way of landing, experts concluded that it was not perfect. The launch vehicle was damaged by salt water and needed extensive repairs. Rocket Lab began to seriously consider the option of capturing the booster with a helicopter. During the third flight, the helicopter was already watching its descent from a height to take into account all the details. Based on the results of the analysis of these missions, the company's engineers finally developed a procedure for capturing the booster with a helicopter. And so, on May 3, 2022, as part of the round-trip mission, the launch vehicle separated from the second stage at an altitude of about 50 miles. By inertia, it went up another 10 miles and then began to fall at a speed of 5,200 miles per hour. After about 7 minutes and 40 seconds, it began to fly twice as slowly at the speed of sound. At that moment, a small parachute opened and then a large one, and the rocket slowed down even more. At an altitude of 6,500 feet, a Sikorsky S-92 helicopter was waiting for it. Since almost all of the fuel was used up, the rocket stage became much lighter than it was at launch. Still, it was a cylinder 4 feet in diameter, about 4 stories tall, and weighing nearly 2,200 pounds. Here is such a gigantic catch that the helicopter had to deliver to the base. Meanwhile, employees of the company were watching with excitement via video link. They saw a cable hanging from a Sikorsky S-92 and a cloudy sky below. Then, a booster appeared in the frame, which the helicopter hooked onto the parachute. The booster swung and disappeared from the camera's field of view, but it was clear that the rocket was caught. However, the pilots later reported that the launch vehicle hung under the helicopter in a completely different way than expected. As a result, the decision was made to drop it. The booster went down on a parachute and splashed down into the ocean. It was then pulled out of the water by the Rocket Lab ship. After the repair, they hope the device will return to service. However, Rocket Lab is striving to ensure that the helicopter delivers the booster exactly to land. So the experiments will continue and several more missions are planned for this year. We'll be watching their progress with great interest. What is more, it's planned to create a 130-foot Neutron rocket, more than twice the size of the Electron. Neutron will be able to carry out manned space flights and carry cargo weighing up to 4,400 pounds to the moon. The first stage of the apparatus will be reusable. The rocket booster will be returned intact to Earth using a helicopter, self-landing it on the platform, or some other unique technology. And perhaps this is what will make Neutron a real taxi to the moon for hundreds of thousands of people in the future.